Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond Bandwidth, Leviton's podcast series where we dive into network technology's hottest topics. I am your host from Leviton Network Solutions, Roy Chamberlain. The discussion for this series is centered around DAS. Today, I am excited to talk with Anne McGee from Wesco. Well, welcome to the show, Anne.
Thanks, Roy. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. So I want to start off with, can you just give us a little bit of background, let us know what you do for Wesco?
So I'm a wireless business manager for the Mountain States and the Pacific Northwest. I've been here since April 2022. I'm on a global team, and it's headed up by Carla Schaefer out here in the United States. And what we do is we support our branch units across the country so that they can be better prepared and talk to their customers about wireless technologies.
Okay. And how often do you work with the DAS technology?
Every day. I'm either presenting to end user customers or integrators or talking with our branch representatives on how they can better position our products with their customers.
Great. You know, I was on the contractor side for a long time. I worked with Wesco, Annixter for years. I know that when I was in structured cabling, the distributed antenna systems, they didn't always come through us. Sometimes they did. So where do you see the opportunities that are coming to you for the requests? Like, who's asking you for the most part for these distributed antenna systems? Where is that request coming from?
So it can come from, and we see it come from many different sources. It can be the facilities manager within a building. They're responsible for the safety of folks in the building. And so a distributed antenna system, which what we call a DAS, typically refers to a cellular system. 80% of all 911 calls come from inside the building. So in order to have a safe environment, facilities managers are the ones for the end users that typically reach out and ask questions about providing cellular service in the building. But we also get requests from our general contractors who are contracted with building owners to build new buildings. And then also the electricals, right? So our electrical contractors who are working with the GCs, they also reach out to us because they get asked to provide this type of service. And then we also work in the ecosystem with our integrators who do the installations. And sometimes our integrators will contract with low voltage installers who are already working in the buildings to go ahead and install the systems. So there's a real ecosystem revolving around in-building wireless technologies, and in particular, the cellular DAS.
Your market, is it primarily the active or the passive DAS type systems?
So I think we probably need to understand what the difference is between an active DAS and a passive DAS. So if I'm taking a system off air from the macro environment, and I just have a bidirectional antenna or distribution system, so a BDA, if I have that, then I'm just taking off air, running through my BDA, bidirectional amplifier, and then I'm running coax to service antennas. That's considered a passive system. If I'm using an active system, that typically involves a head end at fiber to remote repeaters. And so there's two different classifications, which is FCC Part 20, which is a pre-approved solution to take signal off of the macro environment and bring it in. That means that system's been tested by the carriers or the operators, and they've approved that system for use using the macro environment. Then there's the FCC Part 90 solutions, and these are for bigger environments that require a lot of capacity. And so those systems, you have to coordinate with the operators in order to have those systems supported either off of the macro environment or by bringing signal source from the carriers to support that particular DAS. So that's the two different types of systems, passive and active solutions. So, and we see those in different environments, coverage required only or capacity. So for your bigger stadiums, your like casinos, anywhere where there's a lot of activity on the DAS, that's where we need to provide that capacity.
Right, for like the Part 90 active
Yes.
systems.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. So as Leviton Network Solutions, we're mainly a structured cabling. That's the products that we provide. And we have all different types of solutions. How our contractors that are certified, we don't have a DAS product ourselves, right? So
Mm-hmm.
contractors like that might be listening, how do they get involved to get a part of the installs that are occurring for these DAS requests?
So we work with a lot with our Leviton partners, and we have opportunities to work with them and bring their customers to us. And if we'll have a conversation about what is a DAS, do they see opportunity in their account sets? And then typically we will start them off with a product like Nextivity, which is a Part 20 pre-approved product by the carriers. And we'll take them down the road of certification with that particular manufacturer. And all the manufacturers require a certification of sorts on their equipment. And we'll take them down that road. And typically we find that low voltage or security contractors are uniquely qualified already to install these products. The Nextivity product in particular, it uses category cable in a part of its solution, along with coax and service antennas. So it's an easier system to install, and it always works great.
Okay. Yeah, so these contractors become certified contractors for the individual DAS manufacturers.
Yes.
Okay. What are some of the biggest obstacles from your standpoint, right? As a distributor, like you said, you kind of have a connection between all the different entities. What are some of the biggest obstacles that you guys run into for installs and implementation?
Well, typically it's lack of knowledge, or they think they know everything. So those can be two big stumbling blocks. And we can help out on both ends. As I said, if you're already in the building as a contractor, what we like to do is talk to any of the contractors, which can be the GCs, the electricals, low voltage contractors, integrators, that whole ecosystem. We like to understand where they feel comfortable, if they would like to expand their portfolio and move into the DAS world. Since they're already pulling cable in the building, it makes sense. And we can take these contractors and pair them up with integrators who are already doing this so that they can work alongside an integrator to learn all the installation pieces and then move them into the certification process and have them stand on their own 2 feet. We like to work with the entire ecosystem to bring everybody along so that they have all the opportunities at their disposal through Wesco.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like I said, when I was in the contractor world, there are facilities who they have that comfort level, right, with that low voltage contractor or that electrical contractor to do that work in their, in their spaces that are vital to their company. So it makes sense to try to do whatever is possible to get the best people involved for the end user.
Yeah, and Roy, we see that a lot with universities and hospitals. where they have their preferred installers or a list of preferred installers that they take advantage of. And we like to work with those installers to help them understand their potential with other technologies, whether it's security, AV, or wireless to include DAS.
Do you get direct work from the end users, or is it always go through the integrators? How does that work? I mean, do end users actually reach out to Wesco?
Wesco actually reaches out to end users. And so we have what we call demand creation representatives. They're outside sales reps, and they work directly with end users and to bring our technologies directly to them. And then when we find something that they need, then we also bring them the resources to do the installations. And so we work directly with end users. We don't wait for them to reach out to us, although that does happen sometimes. We're actually a proactive, solutions-oriented organization that reaches out to the entire ecosystem from end users to contractors to integrators so that we can keep them up to date on the latest technologies available to them that they can bring their customers or that we can bring to the end users through integrators.
Right, that service.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you've been doing this for Wesco and in your career, where do you see the trajectory of DAS going? Like from when you kind of first started on this side of the business up till now and what you're seeing coming forward?
Well, building technologies have definitely changed over the years. So, we have more sophisticated building materials going into buildings, such as low E glass, but the buildings are becoming more energy efficient, which requires an in-building solution to bring communications in. And we see that in that middle price space where only coverage is required, we're seeing more and more of that being required in these more energy efficient buildings going up. It used to be that we didn't have all these energy efficiencies. And so you would have signal leaking into the building that building owners felt was enough. But now because the users, right, of our technologies are more sophisticated, they actually believe that wherever they go, they're going to have connectivity. And they're oblivious to how do we bring that into a building or how do we bring it to a rural area. And so now, because of the demand, we're seeing that building owners are more willing to go ahead and put these technologies in. It creates more business. But another thing that we've seen is it used to be that the carriers would fund a lot of these builds. They're not doing that anymore. They're focused on the major types of buildings like stadiums for Super Bowls. They're not bringing signal source to these buildings unless the building owner is willing to pay for it. So we're seeing a real clear separation in the Part 20 versus the Part 90. And so, we're really honing in this industry on what is the difference between coverage and capacity. Because with an Nextivity solution, contractors can get this product installed, get it turned up, and get out and get paid. Whereas with the Part 90 solutions, those are much bigger builds. It takes somewhere in the area of 18 months to get a signal source from the carriers. And so we see that in those venues, they expect that. But in the middle price space, hospitals, apartment complexes, mixed use spaces, they don't have the patience for that. They want to get their solutions installed so that they can bring the people to the buildings who expect to have that connectivity.
Right. Yeah. They have a little bit more control and more influence, right?
Yes.
In those larger venues. So in general, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, these providers of cellular service, Their goal has always been to get as many users, right,
Mhm.
as possible. Do you see these providers trying to get more? Are there other technologies that they're trying to tap into that you see besides just the texting on the phone and phone calls and videos?
So, we see like Verizon utilizing private LTE, right, as a way to capture building owners and buildings or campuses, things like that, installing the private LTE, but bringing more coverage to the macro areas is really what brings the users. So they're all competing for that space, right? So they're all going to be, yeah, yes, 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 yes. And, and also, there's a big focus on rural areas as well. And so, we see T-Mobile in the 600 megahertz. Well, that's going to travel quite far. So we're seeing T-Mobile expanding that footprint rather rapidly. So they all have their pluses, they all have their minuses. And at the end of the day, it's the end user themselves, the person that is going to make that purchase choice is going to decide what's going to be best for them. And each one of the carriers, they try to make their networks more robust in order to handle the traffic of that macro environment.
Okay, so in those macro environments, what kind of applications those services trying to provide? Are they trying to compete with other services besides just the regular cellular?
Well, so for AT&T, they have FirstNet, and FirstNet is strictly for first responders. So AT&T won that back in, I think it was 2012 or 2013. It was a bid that the government put out. So they've been rapidly installing more and more cell sites in order to bring Band 14, which is FirstNet, to first responders. So first responders get preemption, or they get preferential treatment on the network, you could say, through preemption if there is an event in that particular area. And so AT&T is bringing FirstNet, and that's a big technology for first responders who are using FirstNet. Not everybody does, and not all first responders have bought into this, and it's mostly different jurisdictions, and it's a matter of adoption. But it is very robust, and it is needed for first responders.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that part about the first responders. I had heard something or read something a while back, but yeah, I didn't know that was like a bid between the different services that they went
Mhm.
through the government.
Yes.
What are you guys talking about as far as 5G?
You're going to find 5G in 600 megahertz with T-Mobile, but you're also going to find it at 2.5 gigahertz. T-Mobile bought Sprint a couple of years ago and picked up the Sprint 2.5, which is also considered 5G. We've got AT&T and Verizon. They have upper range for 5G and their systems as well. It's a matter of 5G adoption. Okay. And so adoption of 5G means that you're going to have more densification of systems. So you see 4G LTE, they brought those little towers down closer to the roads. You can see that off to the side when you're driving. Used to be you would just see tall towers off in the distance, which was 2G and 3G. And as we get into 4G LTE, they have to bring those towers, I call them mini towers, closer to where the people are. And so you're seeing identification there. But in order to bring 5G, you've got to get even closer because they're in the upper ranges of the frequency bands. And so those frequencies don't travel as far. So you have to bring them closer to where the people are. And so there's going to be, as this is being built out, we have cities like Austin, I believe Chicago, they've got 5G in those cities. But 5G, what does 5G actually mean? Well, it's a data pipeline, right? And 5G coupled with 4G, which brings you the voice, makes a very fast and robust system. But what are we going to be using 5G for? So I'm not going to be playing video games on my phone necessarily. I don't need all that bandwidth as just a typical user, but I might want 5G in my home so that I can utilize that network and utilize all that bandwidth and that data pipe. But I might have to have a transmitter right next to my house in order to make that happen. And I'm not sure if I really want to do that. So we're going to see 5G mostly, at least in the short term, is in manufacturing and millimeter wave. Okay. And that's going to be for very quick, precise robotic movements, taking advantage of that huge data pipeline. And so we'll see that in building for manufacturing, like car manufacturing, things like that. And we're already seeing that.
Wow, that's good information. Well, Anne, we're getting near the end here, and I just wanted to thank you. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm very impressed with the breadth of knowledge that you really have on this topic. So it's been good. I've talked to a few different people and love your perspective. So thank you very much for joining us, and I hope we can do it again sometime.
Roy, it's really been a pleasure, and we love our partners at Leviton. So thank you very much for having me on.
Beyond Bandwidth is a podcast series produced by Leviton Network Solutions. For more information on the topics we talked about today, as well as other enterprise or data center network infrastructure content, or to check out all available episodes of Beyond Bandwidth, visit us on the web at leviton.com/beyondbandwidth, or wherever you normally listen to podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd appreciate you leaving an honest review in your podcast application. Along with word of mouth, leaving a review will help others find our show. I'm Roy Chamberlain, and this was Beyond Bandwidth. Until next time.